look forward to the live demo to be able to interact with the operators that are in the cabs of these machines. So let's talk about nomenclature here. This is something that late last year and early this year, we started to change the nomenclature. As you see in the lower end, the 120 through 160, all those machines now have 3 numbers as part of their nomenclature model designator. We've gotten rid of all of the suffixes, M3, M, anything on the back end. The other thing you'll see here is we have retired the 12. So you can look at those and you see the 140 and 150. That 140 transitioned from the 12 when we retired that model. And then the 150 was a transition from the 140 M3. But then when you look to the right side of that lineup here, you see the 14 through 24. We dropped the M or M3 designator at the end, and those are just the 2-digit numbers, and that is the standard moldboard lid. So that just basically gives you a line, lines out the motor girder lineup and simplifies it and makes it easier to understand. So we get a lot of questions, especially as we replace that 12 M3, 140 M3, and 160 M3. Now it's the 140, 150, 160. What's the same? What's different? Let's talk about what's the same. The horsepower, the weight, and all your dimensional specs between those M3 series and the next new nomenclature machines remains the same. So if you liked the 12 before, a 140 is a great machine for you now. If you like the 140 M3, the 150, or so on. So what is different? Obviously, the most easy one to see is your trade dress. If you look, 12 M3, we moved it to a 140, and we moved it from just in front of the cab to in front of the lift cylinders. And then if you have all-wheel drive, we moved the all-wheel drive modifier to the back of the machine. And you look at the cat trade dress, from power edge to the new trade dress, you can see it move down. And then obviously 12 M3 to the 140, and your all-wheel drive is back there on the back of the machine. So let's just look at the M3 series. So we got the 12, the 140, and the 160 in the pictures up top. That 140 M3 transitioned to a 150, so you can kind of see. And then the 12 M3 transitioned to the 140. And the 160 is a pretty easy one. We just dropped the M3 series off the end. Now, obviously, we have the tandem drive machines, or if you do have an all-wheel drive, you will have the all-wheel drive modifier on the back. Other things that are different from the M3 series to the new series machines. Preventative maintenance. All these machines now have the new cartridge style filter. So when you spin off that housing, you're replacing the cartridge rather than the metal canister and the cartridge, as well as they all have drains, so you can basically clean or drain those filter housings out and be able to spin on or put in new filters and put them back on and take care of it. The other thing too, we've tested and proven with SOS sampling, you can take your engine oil filter, your hydraulic filter, and your fuel filters and take them out to 1,000 hours, thus reducing your preventative maintenance costs by up to 20%. Other things you'll see as we continue, and we'll talk about that technology ladder a little bit further on. We're on to our next gen CAT grade. So obviously the ARO, the attachment ready option, the plug and play system to add a 2D or 3D system, as well as the 2D cross-slope system from the factory, are all built with the new generation of sensors, making it ready for the next levels of technology that are available. So as you're looking at your grader, whether it's a fresh new one or been out there for a little while and there's a thing that maybe you need or don't need, you know, maybe it's time for an upgrade. What I mean by that is there are things we add that we have from Caterpillar and the dealers that you can add to your machine, whether it's increased storage, LED lights, extended mirrors or work tools, whether you want a scarifier on the front or in the middle, ripper on the back, snow equipment, as well as you get some age and there's some wear in that drawbar circle moldboard, we're able to have things available to one part number in many cases and just order it up and be able to put it on your machine and take it back to factory tight. So we have lots of things. So talk to your dealer about a rig out catalog and see all the things that we offer that would allow you to upgrade your current machine or add to a new machine that you have in your fleet. Talk about that new model we have. So we have the 120, the 140, 50, 60 in the construction line. We now also have a 140 GC. Things to think about with this 140 GC is it's an easy operation machine. It's economical and it's reliable. What I mean by that is in the easy operation section part, it's a 2-pedal setup. You have a brake and a throttle because of a torque converter drive transmission. Your no-spin rear differential, your operator no longer needs to worry about locking and unlocking that rear differential. It takes care of it itself, making it easier to operate. All-wheel drive as an option, it's just on or off. So just making this simple, it's the lever controls that Caterpillar's built its legacy on, and also just all-around great machine. Economical standpoint, this machine has low owning and operating costs on a per hour basis. And then reliability, depending upon your application, depending upon your utilization, this machine is very reliable, has all that cat DNA that you're used to and built into a machine. We take all that stuff and have built this into this machine. So again, easy operation that's economical and reliable. If you're interested in this machine, let us know, talk to your dealer, and we can provide more information for you. And then the last thing here I wanted to kind of touch base with you all on before we get to the really good stuff of the operation is technology. Whether you're looking to step in or step up, meaning you have a grader out there that you purchased, it doesn't have any technology on it. You have the ability to add an ARO, the attachment ready, that gets you all the wiring and things that you need to be able to add a 2D or 3D system to it. Or you can go from your ARO up to a cross-slope system with the sensors and the other things to make it a automatic 2D system with cross-slope. Or now, obviously, we also have a capable of the 3D, the integrated massless system. So there's really a lot of things, depending upon what level of technology you want, whether it's something right from the beginning or something in the future, we have you covered. Through your dealer, through Caterpillar, we have what you would need. So that's all I had for slides here, because we really wanted to focus on the live portion of this thing and just wanted to touch base with you all on a few of the things that we have. We've got you covered, whether choice of controls, whether you have all-wheel drive needs, no technology, full technology, we've got you covered. So pretty excited about that. I don't know, is there any questions here? If they're not, let's get this excited. Let's pass it over to Josh and Carter as they're going to show you what we got going on in the background.
Thanks, Eric. Glad to see everybody tuned in. What we're going to show you here now is some of the differences between the 140 M3 with our dual mast GPS to what our new one is. So one of the challenges that we see quite often as an operator with the dual mast GPS is the limited mobility to where I can't move it circle far enough, I can't get a steep enough angle, especially pulling up some of this material up the slope, and then I end up with material coming around the toe and not being able to maneuver where I need to. And half of the time it seems like I'm always watching to see where my masts are to make sure I'm not getting close to getting them in the cab or into the light bar or any of that. And I am also limited on my pitch of my blade to that 10 degrees. So it all plays into yes, it's great, but there's limitations. And now with some of the new stuff coming, we can take away some of those limitations, and you'll hear Josh talk about more of that. So with that, I'm going to finish up here and hand it off.
All right, thanks, Carter. While you duck off, I'm going to continue to work this slope a little bit. So, yeah, I'm out here on the brand new 150. This is a new machine to the Edwards fleet. Just had it for a few weeks now. It's one of the first machines out of the factory. It's got all of about 38 hours on it, and I can say, you know, I've had the opportunity to run this quite a bit, and it's a strong performer. Now, you might ask, hey, why are we starting out doing some demonstrations on a slope? Well, to be quite honest with you, that was the one thing I was most skeptical about with this dual mast or mastless, going from a dual mast to a mastless system. So what I want to show right out of the gate, you know, to everybody online here is, you know, the ability to run on a slope and on grade, and even more important, always accurate. So I'm going to actually go into the automatic state right now, and we're going to do a combination of some different cameras. So you can see in the cab now I'm running automatics on my toe and heel on this slope, cutting grade, and it stays on grade just as I would expect. Now, as I go around and continue up this slope here, I'm going to come off the end of this and explain a little bit about, you know, the thoughts and theories why we're up on this slope and some of the things I need to do to the machine to move material uphill. And for any operators out there online, we all know that trying to move material uphill is one of the most difficult things to do. So I'm going to do a quick turnaround and make one more pass on this slope. And we all know, you know, typically trying to move material uphill, especially a 3-to-1 like you see we're working on right now, you need to potentially, when it all depends on material type, but potentially lean the wheels uphill. Always typically have your drawbar from in the center, maybe more on the uphill side, and a lot of actual moldboard angle. You know, and a lot of people might ask, well, how can you still stay accurate doing that without actually having mass on the moldboard? Well, we have lots of sensors on this machine that knows exactly where the tips of the moldboard are at all times. So the nice thing is this thing will stay on grade no matter if your wheels are leaned, if the drawbar's in the center, uphill, downhill, if your moldboard's pitched forward or backward, or even a little bit of articulation, because trying to stay on this slope and make my tire tracks match each other like I'm trying to do right now, I have to articulate this thing to actually stay, you know, straight framed or track straight, if you will. So those are some of the features, you know, that really make this really nice. And to piggyback on what Carter said, I don't have to worry about cables, towers, risers, receivers in the cab, anything like that.
But Josh, hey,
Yep.
You know what though? That's really great, and this really opens up your working envelope of your machine, you know. But there are reasons why someone would probably want some mass, and why would they?
Well, that I've heard you talk about the portability piece, right? The portability of being able to maybe go from GPS to UTS or switch from machine to machine. Those are just a couple quick examples of maybe why you would do that. Do you have anything else to add to that, Eric?
No, absolutely. Typically right now with UTS and or a laser system, you definitely would still need a mass, or again, like Josh said, that portability really, you know, from machine to machine makes it important. So.
All right, I'm going to talk about another nice feature that works really well, auto side shift. So you'll see I'm up here between the two slopes and on a flat ground, and I'm running autos. You can see on the screen left and right. So I'm on grade. It's holding grade automatically. I have a little bit of articulation in the machine to go around this radius, and I have my auto side shift activated. So you'll see a vertical red line here. That vertical red line shows I have selected a toe line. And I just switched screens, so now you can see cross-section and plan view to show you that the auto side shift will actually stay exactly on that line. That is a really awesome tool to use. I've found that the working window is really nice. We've opened up that working window to where your moldboard can be anywhere from 90 degrees, which would be square to the mainframe, all the way with a severe angle on it, and it still allows the operator to do auto side shift. So that is a really nice feature.
As you're going in this turn, Josh, man, it's looking awfully effortless. What's your secret?
I tell you what, feature on this machine I use a lot, auto articulation. So when I'm doing turnarounds, and a lot of turnarounds throughout the day, I activate the feature that's up on the B pillar on my right-hand side that's called auto articulation. And technically, you know, in a nutshell, what that is it allows the back of the machine to articulate to match steering angle on the front end. So really, if I just steer the machine in the direction I want to go, the articulation will automatically take care of itself and do its own thing. It's super nice, especially when you do a lot of turnarounds throughout the day. So Eric, I'm up here again, just making another pass, trying to show, hey, running autos again. You know, I can switch, go to the cross-section view. I can see where my hinge point might be on the right-hand side. That way I know where I need to be, where that actual hinge point is going to be when I go back on the slope. You saw how easy it was. As I'm coming off this slope, I can go from one screen, 2 screens, even 3. Sometimes I'll run this 3-pane view that you see right now. With the 3-pane view, I have a side profile view, a cross-section view, and a 3D view. That 3D view is really nice. It helps me get a better understanding of what the job site looks like, where I'm at on the job site, and all kinds of things. So I'm going to go back to the 2-panel view right now. We're going to make another pass on flat ground. Since we spent a little time on slopes, we're going to come in here just on the floor. Now, one thing I want to do real quick is show a benefit I love about this is there's memories in our offset. So I was up on the slope, and we have our slope overbuilt, which you can see 0.33. We have that overbuilt, and I have that as like slope grade. I can push the button on the top again. That's floor grade. Now, if I push it one more time, it shows 0. That's actual design grade. So I'm going to go back to floor grade. And it's easy to do that, which I really like going back and forth, because there's times you go from slopes to flats to whatever the case may be, and it's really takes some time to change those offsets if need be. So it's really nice. Again, I'm just running a quick windrow across right now, super easy, but the machine is performing really well. You can see you kind of have your basic machine set up. I'm just going to generate a quick windrow. And you'll notice as I do my turnarounds, I'm going to use, again, that feature we talked about, auto articulation. And while I'm thinking about it, Eric, I want to touch on auto diff lock. Especially working slopes, doing different things, it's kind of nice to not have to worry about turning your differential lock on and off all the time. So the auto diff lock understands when the machine sees the right parameters to apply the diff lock, and
Absolutely.
It does its own thing.
Yep,
really
and nice. When you get too much steering or you get a little too much articulation, it kicks it out. But otherwise, it can lock in when it needs to and unlock when needed. One less thing an operator needs to be concerned about as they're operating.
Absolutely. All right, one more thing. We're going to just show now like grade match. This thing grade match is really good. Again, looking at the screen inside, you can see I'm running autos on both sides. And I want to show that I can roll the moldboard forward and still stay on grade as well. See that? I've rolled the moldboard forward and we've stayed on grade. I can roll the moldboard back. And again, it's with all these sensors we have on board to know exactly where all the components and the positions of the entire machine. It works really well.
And that's pretty critical as you're working on, you know, obviously with technology, to be able to roll that moldboard, to be able to get the, you know, proper cut if it's a little bit hard penetration. Absolutely. Or get that material rolling so that that machine works efficiently. That's pretty critical.
It's very, very critical. You know, with dual mass, it was nice. You always had a pitch sensor on there once they came out with a pitch sensor, but it only allowed you to pitch the moldboard forward or backward 10 degrees from vertical of that mast. That's not a lot. The new technology on this, you're able to roll it all the way forward or all the way back, which is really nice.
Now, there's something else here, Josh, that we have that is pretty exciting when it comes to this CAT 3D. You want to take them through what we got going on here?
Absolutely. I'm going to talk a little bit about eFence. And with eFence, what I want to do is I'm going to activate the eFence. And what that is the ability for me to enable a feature on the machine that I know will keep the heel or the toe of the moldboard out of the tires. So I've enabled this feature right now through the machine display, which took less than 3 seconds. And I'm going to just demonstrate. As you can see on camera, I'm circling the moldboard toward the tire with full circle command, and you can see that it's slowing down and stopping on its own, just as it did right there. So I can side shift the moldboard, circle a little bit more, okay, and maybe side shift a little bit more, but it limits me. Now, same thing if I would circle more back into a heel position, it's going to limit no matter what I do, my circle, moldboard side shift, or even drawbar side shift. So I'm going to come around to the rear tandem, and it stopped automatically. You know, people might wonder, well, why do we have this feature? Well, actually, it's voice of customer. We had a lot of customers ask about, can you guys come up with some type of feature to be able to eliminate moldboards getting into the tires? The other part of this that I really love is it limits the stroke of the lift cylinder. So if I raise the DCM drawbar circle moldboard all the way to the top, I'll do it again. It will limit how high it goes. So a lot of times it's easy to raise the circle into the link bar. Here it stops it. It's within an inch. Now I say within an inch, it's very accurate. So with ET, when you set this E-fence up, you can set it up how close you want to these different components. So I set it up within an inch to the link bar because there's a lot of times you're working slopes and ditches and different types of things. You want that distance. But I left quite a distance between the edge of the moldboard and the tires just to give us some safety buffer there. But again, it's fully adjustable and you can enable it or disable it. I had it disabled when I worked the slopes because I knew I needed a lot of blade angle and I needed to manipulate the machine a lot. But now if I'm going to take off and blade a parking lot or a road or something, I'll probably enable it. That's just one less thing I got to worry about.
Hey, Josh, why don't we, before we do this, why don't we take it back and show the articulation? You know,
Yep. Okay.
Roll it back to this wheel. That's a pretty good show how they can
Absolutely.
articulate one way and not, you know.
Absolutely. So we're basically straight frame now. I'm going to circle back to where, let's say, the heel of the board is right close to the tire. It's stopped itself. Now, if I want to articulate into the moldboard, like I'm making a left-hand turn, I'm trying to give articulation command now. It will not articulate. If I articulate away, it will allow me to do so because it's opening that gap up. Again, I'll articulate into it and it stops automatically.
And as Josh said, this is set for him. So he helped to set the parameters for this. If you have, you know, a different operator, you can set this up for that particular operator based on further away, a little bit closer to the tires, things like that. So you can, with ET, be able to make the adjustments to that E-fence system for that operator's need in that machine.
Absolutely. Anything, Eric, question-wise about application or moving the machine before maybe we get out and look at the components?
No, I don't have anything. We do have one question. And you could probably still shut it off though, Josh.
Okay.
Can we get this new model with the lever controls? So in North America, we do offer two models that have choice of controls. You have your 120, and it comes in either the steering wheel and lever joist or the joysticks, or also the 140 comes in the steering wheel and lever or the joystick. So in North America, those are the two models that we give you the ability to have choice of controls with the new trade dress and the new models.
Thank you, Eric. Now that I'm down here on the ground, I think it's critical to point out kind of where these components are on the machine because it'll really help make sense why I was able to do so many things on the slope or whatever the case may be with articulation, wheel lean, moving the drawbar, and all that. So while I'm going to start high with the components and I'm going to work low on the machine, okay? We all know this is a dual GPS receiver machine. So the second, I'm going to call it the secondary GPS receiver, is up here on the back of the cab. You can see it on the top. Now, as we move forward on the machine, you'll see the main, or the number one GPS receiver is up here on the front of the main frame, as Nick, the cameraman, is pointing out there, okay? So it's nice to be able to see this, and you can do your troubleshooting on the lights just as well as you could when you had dual mast. So it's nice to have that right up front. If something goes wrong, you can do a quick troubleshoot like that. Now, the radio. We have a dual band radio on this machine. We're going to zoom in. It's on the front of the cab on the top. So we have a dual band radio on this, and that's the location up on the top of the machine. Now, kind of moving down to the main frame, you'll see this black box here, same location as where our sensors were before. This is called the EC520. So brains of the machine, and then also it knows the main fall of what the machine is doing. If the machine's traveling on flat ground, uphill or downhill, it makes those calculations. It's smart enough to even understand and realize now if the wheels are completely vertical or if they're leaned to the right or to the left, and make that calculation to stay on grade with the moldboard. Now, moving on down, we still have our tried and true rotation sensor, which is mounted on top of the swivel box. The rotation sensor has not changed at all. It still has its same primary job. It understands the degrees in which the moldboard is turned left and right. Now we have a GS510. A GS510 is an IMU sensor. So right here on top of the drawbar, we're going to have Nick come in and focus right here. We have a GS510 IMU. It's a single axis IMU sensor, and it understands attitude of the drawbar. Now with that, we have another GS510 IMU that's in this location on the back of the yoke here on the other side of the machine. So it's important to have these IMUs in these positions because that's what allows me to move the drawbar left to the right. As I pitch the moldboard forward and backward, they all talk together and make those mathematical calculations to keep the cutting edge on grade. Now, moving on down, we have another IMU on the back of what we call the torque tube here. And inside this protected box, we have a GS520 IMU. The GS520 is a 2-axis IMU sensor. So it allows the ability to the operator to pitch the moldboard forward and backward and measure that. Also, it understands the cross slope of what the moldboard is. Some people might have been wondering, is there any in-cylinder sensors positions? Well, there's only one on this machine. Moldboard side shift is the only in-cylinder position sensor on this machine. Other than that, it's IMUs. There's IMUs on the entire machine that knows everything from wheel lean to articulation to drawbar left and right, up and down, moldboard pitch forward and backward, and it knows exactly everything we're doing all the time to keep, at the end of the day, the cutting edge on grade.
And since we like to use acronyms here, IMU, inertial measurement unit. So just for anyone wondering what the IMU is, that's what it means. And the nice thing about this system is a lot of the stuff Josh showed you, if you got the CAT cross slope system, CAT grade cross slope system, this 3D is built on top of that. So we're utilizing already those components that are in the 2D system and taking it up to the 3D. So I'm pretty excited about all this and the ability to be able to do all the work and really help open up the working envelope of this grader. I mean, so many times we talk to operators and that masted machine would come in for a particular, type work, and then it would be off the job. And again, masts are important for portability and some other things, but if you don't want those masts but still have that technology capability in this system, this just allows you to bring this machine in earlier on the job site, do more tasks on the job site, and be able to let those operators think about what the work they're doing is versus the mast, because even talking with operators, they're worried running it or roading it on the site because a tree may capture one of those receivers, as they're trying to move it from place to place. So really pretty critical, and good stuff here. So anything you got to wrap this thing up, Josh?
Nope. Just thank everybody for watching today and joining us. And it's always a pleasure on our behalf here at the Edwards Demonstration and Learning Center to demonstrate this wonderful equipment. And I feel honored to be able to run this machine today and talk a little bit more about it. And I think it's going to be absolute game changer out in the real world. So I'm excited to see more in the population. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so a couple questions that popped up here. Can you use the e-fence with auto articulation? My understanding is if you set it and you're auto articulating and it sees it's going to interfere based on the settings that are in it, it will stop the articulation from occurring in that specific setting. So that appears to be that. Also, the other big thing here is we talked about new. This is a new machine, from the factory. There's a lot of population of machines that are sitting out there. And, we have the capability. Talk to your CAT dealership about putting
basically a retrofit kit on an M series, M2 series, M3 series. You can add this massless system to any of those machines in that field population. So, you know, if you've got a good deal coming on a grader and you want to make it from minimal or a lot of technology to a massless, you have that capability. So that's pretty exciting to know, whether you want a new factory fresh tractor, the new tractor smell, or if you want to have and take your existing machine and take it to from a masted system or from no technology to massless. Pretty exciting stuff. So I don't see any other questions here. So with that, I really appreciate all your time here today. Thank you very much. And thanks to the Edwards team, Josh and Carter, for making everything look good. And again, thank you very much for your time today and for all your business. We truly appreciate all you do for us. And any questions, please let us know or let your cat dealer know. With that, I'll sign off and have yourself a rest of the good day. Thank you.
Thank you.